If you're here, chances are you've been feeling lost in a sea of unexplained symptoms, or maybe you're wondering if mast cell activation syndrome could be the culprit. It's a condition that can feel like a puzzle where the pieces never really fit together. So today, I want to talk about what MCAS really looks like, not just the medical jargon, but how it can show up in your life from day to day. But first, let me introduce myself. Hi, I'm Sandra. Welcome to my channel. I understand how overwhelming living with MCAS can be, or as I like to call it, angry mast cells. To me, it feels like my mast cells are on high alert, constantly trying to protect me from perceived threats, often threats I can't even see. This hypersensitivity with my form of angry mast cells has made it almost impossible for me to tolerate many of the traditional medicines used to treat MCAS, actually exacerbating my flares. That's why I started focusing on an holistic approach, working closely with my doctor to create a healing plan. To be honest, I had no other choice. On this channel, I'll share my journey with MCAS, the holistic tools and regimen I use daily to thrive. The mission behind the channel and why I became an MCAS coach is to help you feel empowered to advocate for yourself, understand and manage your symptoms, and heal your flares holistically. We're not just going to look at MCAS as a set of physical symptoms, we'll dig into the why behind the hypersensitivity and focus on getting to the root causes. While I'm not a medical doctor, my background is in clinical laboratory science and immunohematology. This has given me insight into how diagnostic testing for MCAS works, its limitations, and how the immune system functions. More importantly, I'm not just a survivor of MCAS, I've found a sustainable balance that allows me to live my best life with angry mast cells. So if you're feeling lost or frustrated, know that you don't have to do this alone. I'm here to support you on your journey to feeling better and thriving. So if this sounds interesting, please consider subscribing to my channel. Let's talk about what MCAS can look like diagnostically. Navigating the testing process to capture the severity of inflammation and immune dysregulation can really feel like a rabbit hole, especially when it seems like you're being treated like a guinea pig. I have felt that many times over the course of my journey. This is one of the main challenges with living with MCAS and a big reason why many of us just feel overwhelmed. In my upcoming coaching sessions, I often discuss the confusing and complex world of MCAS testing, and a significant part of my upcoming live course will focus on this very topic. I'll share in detail the testing protocol that I use to monitor and diagnose my progression with MCAS. For me, it's been a journey of trial and error, as some tests recommended by my doctor just don't work for me, or even worsen my symptoms. Over time, I've learned which tests are the most helpful and which ones to approach cautiously. Let's take a closer look at some of the diagnostic tests that my doctor and I have used to support my healing journey. Tryptase is an enzyme that's released from mast cells. It's often elevated in mast cell disorders, but it doesn't always tell the whole story. For me, tryptase is always elevated consistently, but that's not always the case for everyone with MCAS. I tend to feel asymptomatic when it dips. The normal value is less than 11, around 11 nanograms per milliliter. For me, I hover between 17 and usually has been as high as 26. So usually if it's around 17, I'm pretty much asymptomatic. But once it hits 23 or higher, it's an indicator for me that I've experienced intense inflammation and severe symptoms. One of the limitations of this test is it has a very short half-life, similar to histamine testing. So if the blood sample isn't drawn during a flare or processed quickly, levels might appear normal even if symptoms are severe. We also keep up or monitor my complete blood cell count. or CBC with a differential. CBCs give a closer look at inflammation. A CBC can reveal a lot about how your immune system is functioning and whether inflammation is present. My CBC often shows a low to low normal white blood cell count. I often have low to below normal absolute lymphocytes, as well as large unstained cells. That's also um, pretty common when I have my CBC drawn. I also tend to have macrocytosis or large red blood cells showing up on my CBC test. Um, Macrocytosis can usually be an indicator of chronic inflammation, and that has definitely been the case for me. And one ongoing struggle for me has been dealing, again, with low to low normal hemoglobin as well. There's a strong link between histamine release, which I definitely suffer from excessive histamine release, and hormonal imbalance, particularly with estrogen. Um, in my experience, estrogen actually increases histamine, and then histamine will increase estrogen, creating a cycle that can lead to irregular menstrual cycles and actually worsen inflammation. And that is definitely something that have experienced on my journey. Chronic inflammation from MCAS can also affect your metabolic balance. So we often keep up with what I'm looking like metabolically. We test for my anion gap. For me, my anion gap usually shows a higher level of acidity. Um, so if their anion gap is usually low, like I often see with mine, it can indicate issues with protein levels or electrolyte imbalances. I often see this because I have experienced gastrointestinal distress. So that can show up for me with a low or a high acidity level. So testing for MCAS, clearly it is not a one size fits all. Clearly it is quite complex, and finding that right balance of testing while managing symptoms often just feels overwhelming. So please stay tuned for upcoming content for more tips on navigating MCAS with diagnostics and how to make sense of your own test results. We'll talk about this um, again quite often in the upcoming content. Physically, my journey with MCAS started with symptoms that just didn't seem to fit into any one condition or just simply weird. One of my earliest symptoms before being officially diagnosed was swollen parotid glands, particularly behind my ears. I'll speak specifically about this in a later video. There's a lot to unpack with this symptom. It was a profound teachable moment for me that I want to elaborate on and share my experience in hopes that it will help empower you to advocate for yourself at all times. Shortly after that, I had periodic episodes where I would perspire on my right temple while eating, never the left temple or both when I ate. It took many frustrating years to understand the why of these symptoms and how best to successfully manage this type of MCAS flare. This and many other symptoms that I experienced during flares are a result of the dysregulation of my autonomic nervous system. There were also flare-ups that seemed to come out of nowhere: rashes, vasospasms when I was exposed to cold temperatures, digestive distress that impacted my blood pressure and my heart rate, indiscriminate angioedema, persistent itching, stuffy nose, eye inflammation. And on top of that, there was extreme fatigue. My body felt like it had a completely different agenda from my mind. And of course, one of the hardest things to deal with is the fact that these symptoms, they look so different from person to person. So maybe you're dealing with chronic headache or joint pain, or you've been getting unexplained swelling or bloating. Maybe your symptoms flare up in response to food, stress, certain environments, changes in weather. The thing is, MCAS doesn't always have a clear look. Our immune systems are like fingerprints. No two are the same. I've had periods of MCAS flares where my body was in full-blown chaos, with symptoms advancing to include the inflammation of internal organs like my liver. Other times it's been about fatigue, brain fog, the kind that makes it very hard to concentrate and focus. And of course, there's the emotional roller coaster. It's not just the physical pain, it's the stress of not knowing when things are going to get worse. If you've been dealing with MCAS symptoms and you don't have a clear diagnosis yet, I want you to know you're not alone. There's a lot of uncertainty in this journey, and sometimes the frustration of not getting answers can make things, a lot worse. But if this sounds familiar to you, if your body feels unpredictable, or you experience symptoms that seem to come from nowhere, then MCAS just might be part of the picture. I was fortunate after years of searching to find a specialist that just wouldn't give up until he figured out what was going on with me. We worked together to create a holistic plan that gives me balance. It allows me to thrive with this chaotic condition. Now I use what I've learned after living many years officially with a diagnosis of MCAS to help people just like you who need support in managing mast cell activation syndrome. If you're struggling with your symptoms and need a holistic approach to sustainably managing your flares, I offer one-on-one coaching sessions where we focus on things like the importance of trigger journaling, identifying your personal triggers, and creating actionable strategies to manage your MCAS. Together, we'll explore ways to reduce flare-ups, manage stress, and support your body's healing through holistic practices. I also have an exciting upcoming evergreen course called Reset and Restore: How to Manage MCAS Holistically and Thrive. You'll learn step by step how to sustain a balanced life with MCAS, with ongoing community support, and tools to help you thrive, not just survive. The link to learn more about this opportunity and get on the wait list is below. If you're feeling lost, frustrated, or overwhelmed, please know that there's a way forward. You don't have to navigate this on your own. Reach out, get the support you need, and together we'll build the strength to face MCAS with confidence. There's also a link below for a limited opportunity to join me on a free survey call. I want feedback on how this channel and my upcoming live MCAS course can be the most impactful. Help me help you. I have a good idea from my own journey with MCAS of what I struggle with, but we each have our own journey, and I want to make sure you get the information that will best support you and address your specific concerns. But if you're ready now to start your healing journey, consider booking a coaching session with me. Thank you so much for watching. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, share it with someone who might benefit from this type of content. Leave me a comment and consider subscribing for more tips on managing MCAS holistically. I can't wait to share more with you. Be well.